Hi, back here in San Antonio. We are in the bowels of the Alamo Dome, outside of the press boxes. It's very loud at the press box, but I'm standing here with Arch Bell, who works for CONCACAF.com, ESPN.com, Austin Bold. Is there anything I'm missing?
Diario Marca.
That's right.
Marca Claro, all the Marca Claro pages.
So you're a busy man. Have you ever actually gotten to write one article that covers all of your bases at once?
I don't think so. There's been a couple of times where, this is actually one of the Mexico and Argentina is not bad. This is covering some stuff, but no U.S. stuff with this one. But yeah, I'm definitely busy, but it's all good.
You're probably going to be one of the few journalists that's actually going to be over on the Argentine side of things when they're coming out of the mix zone. So you won't have to fight for too many folks to try and get good space in there to ask your questions.
Yeah, this is true, and it also helps that Lionel Messi's not here, and so there won't be an avalanche of 50 bodies trying to pile on each other to get basically a nothing quote from Messi.
Exactly. Now, Archie, I wanted to bring you on because the last friendly that Mexico had was against the U.S. up in New Jersey, and they won 3-0. And panic has set in with a lot of U.S. fans, not just with the Gold Cup loss, and a couple with this 3-0 loss, which turns out it was the worst loss to Mexico since the last time they played in New Jersey when they lost 5-0. So that's 8 goals without reply in New Jersey against Mexico. Now, is there a reason to panic, or is it not quite time to panic for U.S. fans?
I think it's a time to be concerned, and I think what we are seeing now is the effect of a lost generation of U.S. teams. For so many years it was the Donovans, the Dempseys, the Bradleys, the Howards that would carry this team to the results that it needed, that it would get it to where it needed to go. And then, frankly, after that, there was just a huge gap in talent and players who could step up for the national team. Josie Altidore to some extent, but outside of him, there really hasn't been any. And if you look at the U.S., and I'm talking specifically about Olympic, they failed to qualify for the 2012 Olympics, and they failed to qualify for the 2016 Olympics. And those are, such as Mexico knows, great breeding grounds to develop talent. And I think the U.S. has really suffered from that. Ages 22 to 30, there's just no talent for the national team there. Now, all that said, there is some very good young talent, I think, that's starting to rise through the ranks. Christian Pulisic, obviously, but even some of the kids who were on that U.S. under-20 team that reached the quarterfinals of the under-20 World Cup. They played so well against Mexico in the CONCACAF under-20 championship. Alex Mendez, Paxton Pomykal. So there is room for optimism. And other guys like Tyler Adams, who I think is very impressive. But you're really now starting to see from the U.S., and you saw that during World Cup qualifying when they failed to qualify. Now you're starting to see it in these last couple of years where there is almost like this lost generation of U.S. players, and the U.S. is, they feel it when they're on the field.
Talking to Arch Bell, who writes for CONCACAF.com, ESPN.com, and the Marca family of who knows all the Marca Claro, etc. I do want to ask you about the U.S. style of play. Berhalter wants them to play out of the back, and the U.S. don't seem to be very comfortable with that. And I read the quotes of some of the players like, well, it's not something they we're used to. It's not something that we've done, but it's not something that they've really kind of ever done. As just going up through if they went up through the youth system in the U.S. It's been my experience, and maybe you can speak to this a little bit, that especially when they're younger, the coaches kind of treat the ball like it's kryptonite, and they don't want to have the kids spend too much time with the ball. Don't really want them to dribble all that much. So there's really not that much of technical skill involved, especially when you go up against teams that press them when they come up for the back. So at what point is that going to get shelved for, in my opinion, what I think the U.S. could be very good at, which is absorb and counter, because they can certainly do that, and they have the speed and the talent up front to really punish teams. At what point are we going to see a change in that style? Are we going to see a change in that philosophy from Mr. Berhalter?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think Berhalter seems pretty intent on making this work and finding the pieces that can do it. I think Tyler Adams is a key component here, and he is hurt, and he's not playing in these games. For me, Will Trapp's not the answer at the 6 in that defensive midfielder spot. And maybe some of these younger guys, they have come from places. They are at clubs. Alex Mendez is at Ajax, and Uli Yanez is at Wolfsburg, and Paxton Pomykal. Can he also help with that. So there's a question. I think there are players in the U.S. system who I think eventually can play like that. The ones that are there now, the ones that Greg Berhalter is putting on the field, they don't fit that description. They can't meet that level that is required. And yes, you do see that panic, you see that fear when the U.S. has the ball. I mean, Christian Pulisic said it himself after Friday's game that he was really distraught at how scared the U.S. played, and that's just something he really couldn't live with. And I think that was very evident. But it's been like that for a while, where if all you have to do is press the U.S. I mean, you saw what Mexico did in the Gold Cup final. They pressed them a little bit, and that changed the course of the game significantly. So I think those are the things that you see. But I do think Berhalter is going to stick with this playing out of the back. I think he views these friendlies and these Nation League games as an opportunity to do that.
At what point does it become dangerous for Berhalter if it's not working? Is it a matter of changing what he wants to do, or is it a matter of, as you were saying, maybe it's time to bring in some of these younger guys who can handle this? And I mean, the World Cup in 2022 is still going to be hexagonal. The U.S. has, unless if something calamitous happens, won't have to worry about qualifying for the hexagonal. They should be all the way in with their FIFA ranking. But I mean, the question still remains. I mean, the only competitive games they're going to have are in these Nations League games. If the U.S. isn't as comfortable playing from the back as they want to be, going up against the Jamaicas and the Costa Ricas and the probably Canada's and some of the other teams that can press them very high, that's going to be a problem for the U.S. qualifying, just like it was in 2018. So I guess my question is that something that you see are we going to necessitate a change in philosophy, coaching, or players in order for that to, if it turns out that they're not getting the results they want playing out from the back?
My hope is it would necessitate a change in players. But the realist in me tells me it's probably going to be a change in more of the style. You probably see the U.S. mold more to a direct style rather than playing out of the back. I certainly respect and admire the fact that this is what he wants to do. This is his objective. It's just a question of putting the right players out there who are the most capable of being able to execute that. And right now, that's where the disconnect is happening. And if I were to bet money right now, I'd say, well, if it's going to break one way or the other, it would probably be more of a change in the system and developing a more direct system rather than putting in the appropriate players in place.
That's always been a question that you ask, especially national team coaches. Do you want a national team coach to build a system around the players he has, or should he pick the players that fit his system? And it seems like right now what Berhalter needs to do is pick players that fit his system. The problem with the U.S. is that they're just not that deep, especially at the player for what he's looking for with the skill level that the U.S. players frankly don't have, at least not the current crop. So it's going to be very interesting. Now, I do want to switch gears with you, speaking with Arch Bell, because I know you are an Argentina file, I guess I would say.
Yeah. So I'm married to one. I'm married to an Argentine, so it's we go there a lot, and we watch plenty of Argentine football in the house.
What is her team?
Well, it's interesting. On her mother's side, it's River, and on her father's side, it was Boca. So there's a reason why my in-laws basically screamed at each other for 40 years until my father-in-law's passing many years ago. But I think if anything in our house, we celebrate River Plate when they win. So last December was a momentous Copa Libertadores for us.
River Plate. So the Kit McConaughey then is welcome at your house then.
Very much so.
Big River Plate fan. So my question to you about Argentina is, what is wrong with Argentina? I can't think of a team outside of, actually, I would even consider Brazil right now. I think there is more talented Argentine players than there are players of any country. They play all over the world. They could field 3 teams easily in a World Cup, and all 3 of them can make the quarterfinals without any problem. Yet when they play, it looks like they're playing in cement. So where is the disconnect with the Argentine players and the coaches, and is it a systematic of Grandona's passing and then the massive power vacuum that just quite hasn't been filled yet? Is that, if that happens, is that going to put everything into place, or has it just been chaos?
I think Grandona's death has kind of paved the way for all of this chaos and this constant shuffling of coaches. I mean, they basically get a coach a year. That's how it's been panning out for Argentina I mean, going back to, gosh, I guess, Maradona was in charge for a few years. I mean, Martino was probably the most stable era that they had. Sabella, I guess, to a certain extent as well. So, yeah, it's a complete mess. The federation is just a disaster right now. And I think you see the players, they just don't really feel that joy playing for Argentina. And it's a shame because, I mean, an incredible history, a rich football culture, and like you said, just amazing talent that we'll see here tonight. But it's an awful shame. But yeah, Grandona's death has really has changed Argentina's course, and they don't know how to get out of it.
When Maradona was coaching Argentina, he made some comment about y'all can.
Yes.
It was
he did.
Very unprofessional.
Yes.
And I was actually working at UT. I was producing UT Spanish Radio at the time, and I asked some of the UT SIDs. I said, "Could you imagine if Mac Brown would ever make a comment like that?" And I mean, I couldn't think that they laughed harder than they ever had before. It's like, no, that's something that just wouldn't happen. And it was very entertaining to have Maradona there. He he's training in Argentina again with Gimnasia. He already missed his first practice.
Oh, he did?
He missed his first practice already, so he's good to go. And there's actually a documentary coming out, I think, next month.
Yes,
that looks very interesting about his time in Napoli, which, if you folks have HBO, should be very interesting. Arch Bell, thank you very much for joining us here on the CantinaMX podcast.
Well, thank you very much. Always a pleasure to visit with you and to be in the Cantina. And I sure could use a cold beverage in the Cantina right now.